Browns trade pitch flips Shedeur Sanders to NFC South ahead of deadline. The Cleveland Browns just made rookie Shedeur Sanders their number 2 quarterback, but does that mean he's untouchable through the remainder of 2025? The answer to that question is probably yes, as team owner Jimmy Haslam has been adamant since before the regular season began that the franchise must get real looks at both Dillon Gabriel, 3rd-rounder, and Sanders, 5th-rounder, before the 2026 NFL Draft. The Browns, 1-4, have 2 first-round picks in what should be, at the very least, a reasonable quarterback class and could be in position to select one of the top prospects. Cleveland has already gotten a sense of Gabriel, who completed 19 of 33 passes for 190 yards and 2 scores against the advanced defensive scheme of the Minnesota Vikings on foreign soil. The Browns were competitive in the contest, and Gabriel appears likely to remain the starter for the foreseeable future. Thus, it is hard to imagine Cleveland feeling as though it knows what it has in Sanders ahead of the NFL's November 4th trade deadline. And under those circumstances, the Browns may not even entertain dealing the quarterback because there simply is no rush to do so. However, if Gabriel sustains an injury this week or next, and Sanders gets in the game, it's possible a team desperate enough for answers might come calling to inquire about the 23-year-old's availability. Shedeur Sanders unlikely to build relevant trade value ahead of deadline. Evan Massey of Newsweek authored a trade proposal on Friday, October 10th, that would see Cleveland flip Sanders to the New Orleans Saints of the NFC South Division. While the Browns trading Sanders would be a major surprise, the possibility cannot be written off, Massey wrote. The Saints have started Spencer Rattler under center. They also have rookie quarterback Tyler Shaw on the roster. A chance to acquire another young quarterback could be appealing to them. The obvious hole to punch in the proposal is that the Saints drafted Shaw with the number 40 overall pick in the 2nd round, skipping over Sanders 6 times before the Browns moved up to select him in the early portion of round 5. Saints have no reason to explore trade with Browns for QB Shedeur Sanders, yet. New Orleans isn't likely to have changed its mind on Sanders, given the fact that the Browns have yet to play him a single regular season snap and there is no tape of any import on which to reevaluate him. The Saints probably wouldn't be willing to ship a pick any higher than the one the Browns spent on Sanders in the first place, unless the QB gets into a few games as plays well. But if that happens, why would Cleveland be in a rush to ship him out the door? Rattler has played well enough to keep Shaw off the field for all but 2 snaps in one game through the first 5 weeks of the season, despite a 1-4 start. Given where the Saints' year is going and where Shaw is at in his professional progression, there is no reason for New Orleans to rush into a trade for another rookie quarterback, particularly one the team passed over a handful of times in April. All of that said, if Sanders gets on the field and shows flashes, and/or Shaw gets some run and doesn't comport himself particularly well, this hypothetical trade discussion could be worth revisiting next spring. The Cleveland Browns have once again found themselves at the center of NFL trade buzz, but this time it's not about Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco, or even their quarterback carousel. It's about Shedeur Sanders, the rookie phenom with the golden arm and even brighter spotlight. With the trade deadline looming, whispers around the league suggest a stunning possibility: a Browns trade pitch that could flip Sanders to the NFC South, reshaping both Cleveland's future and one lucky franchise's destiny. This rumor didn't just materialize out of thin air. It was born from a combination of factors: Cleveland's quarterback depth, playoff ambitions, and Shedeur's unmistakable value as both an athlete and a brand. The young quarterback, son of NFL legend Deion Sanders, hasn't yet taken a regular season snap as a starter, but he's generated more talk, jersey sales, and optimism than some starters do in a season. Yet, the NFL is a business. And in business, timing is everything. The trade storm brews in Cleveland. The Browns' current quarterback situation is crowded. Rookie Dillon Gabriel has emerged as a steady presence under center, while Watson's massive contract continues to linger in the background like a storm cloud the franchise can't quite escape. With Shedeur sitting as the backup, a luxury, but also an asset, Cleveland faces a crossroads. The organization loves Sanders' potential, but there's a growing realization that his prime developmental years might be spent on the bench unless something changes. And if another team comes calling with the right offer? That's when things get interesting. Reports out of Berea suggest that several NFC South teams have quietly inquired about the young QB. Each team in that division, from the Atlanta Falcons to the New Orleans Saints, is either rebuilding, retooling, or simply desperate for a quarterback who can ignite the fanbase. The NFC South connection. The Falcons have long been whispered as a natural fit. Atlanta represents more than just a football opportunity for Shedeur. it's a cultural connection. His father, Dion, became a legend in that city with the Falcons and later the Braves. For the Sanders family, returning to Atlanta would feel poetic, almost full circle. Imagine the headlines: Shedeur Sanders returns to ATL, rewriting the legacy his father started. But Atlanta isn't the only NFC South suitor. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, in search of a long-term successor to Baker Mayfield, have quietly shown interest. The Saints, meanwhile, are dealing with inconsistencies from Derek Carr and could view Sanders as the spark to lead their post-Drew Brees era into something fresh and exciting. Even the Carolina Panthers, desperate for a reboot after the Bryce Young experiment faltered, could be lurking in the shadows, waiting to pounce. Each destination paints a different picture. In Atlanta, Shedeur would be home. In New Orleans, he'd be the savior. In Tampa Bay, he'd inherit a roster built to win now. In Carolina, he'd be the hope for tomorrow. Cleveland's calculated gamble. Trading Shedeur Sanders would not be a popular move among fans. His presence has given the Browns' future a face, a symbol of promise after years of quarterback chaos. But NFL franchises don't make decisions based on popularity. They make them based on trajectory. If the Browns are serious about contending this season, they may prioritize assets that help immediately: a top receiver, a defensive anchor, or high draft capital. A team willing to overpay for a rookie quarterback with star potential might make it hard for Cleveland to say no. According to insiders, the Browns front office has at least entertained discussions involving a package of future picks and a veteran starter. The logic is simple: Sanders' value is peaking before he's even hit the field. His brand power, leadership intangibles, and upside make him one of the most coveted young QBs in the league. Yet, trading him now could be a classic risk-reward move. If Sanders blossoms elsewhere, the Browns could look foolish, another chapter in Cleveland's long history of quarterback mismanagement. But if the trade accelerates their playoff run and brings in cornerstone talent,